Hi, this is Diane and I told you it's going to be an interesting night. I'm here at KJ Farrell's with Godfrey Townsend. So, hi Godfrey.
How are you? How are you? Diane.
Diane. Having a good night?
So far it's okay, yeah. I haven't messed anything up or flubbed any notes because I haven't played yet.
Okay, so that's great. You're going to get on stage with members of Skogeo Jan?
I guess so, if that's what you want to call them. These guys and a few other friends of mine that I've worked with before.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about your history. What brought you to here tonight?
History. I started working with local bands, of course, through the years of the 70s and whatever, original bands and stuff like that. And by the 90s, I finally started getting some success, actually. So it took 20 good years.
Takes time and persistence. That's great.
1995, I started touring with John Entwistle, the bass player of The Who, as his guitar player and lead vocalist. And we worked together for 6 years or 7 years until he passed away in 2002, summer 2002. I got brought onto a tour with John Entwistle that was called A Walk Down Abbey Road, which was a tribute to the Beatles and featured 4 principal artists. John Entwistle was one of them, Ann Wilson from Heart was the other, Todd Rundgren was the other, and Alan Parsons was the 4th one. And I became the musical director for that tour. Every one of those artists did a few of their own hit songs and then some Beatle tunes. It was like 35 songs in that show every night. After the end of that tour, the second summer, John was supposed to go out and play with The Who that summer, so he wasn't going to be on the tour, so they brought Jack Bruce on the tour.
From Cream, yeah, sure, of course.
They switched it up a bit. Todd Rundgren came back again, and so did Alan Parsons, but they brought Mark Farner from Grand Funk Railroad and Christopher Cross, which was kind of a weird.
I didn't see that. I didn't see that.
And he's actually Wales. You know, he's a real good guitar player, and was a real nice guy to work with. But anyway, at the end of that summer, I had brought my drummer on that tour also, and then at the end of that summer, Alan Parsons asked me to put together a band for him, which I did. Working with some guys that I've worked with around here locally, the best musicians that I can think of. I asked them if they wanted to be in the Alan Parsons Project, and it worked out well, and we became the Alan Parsons Project. Jack Bruce asked me to play some shows with him after that tour also, and my drummer and myself have worked with Jack Bruce since 2002 on and off. We worked last summer, the whole summer, we did the Hippie Fest tour across the United States. And a lot of other people in between, you know, Joey Molland from Badfinger, Denny Lane from Wings, a couple of dozen artists that I've worked with that are like, I've grown up, they were my heroes, you know, so it's kind of like an honor and a pleasure to work with them, you know.
Oh, sure. I mean, I read that book, Here, There, and Everywhere by Jeff Emmerich.
I've been reading that. I just started reading
An incredible book where Alan Parsons is mentioned, and so like the history ties in. What incredible things that
started
worked.
writing a book myself.
Great.
For years, people have been telling me, because that's how, like, when I do a gig, I'll do a solo acoustic gig or something, and one song or another means something or other to me. It ties into a.
Hold on, we got a train coming through. This will happen. We're near the Belmore train station. Wave to Long Island Railroad. Excuse me.
You know, one song or other will somehow or other tie into a story somehow. So I'll tell a story about a famous person that I've worked with or whatever, and the audience really gets a kick out of it. So I've been doing that for years, and people are telling me, you should write a book. You got so many great stories, you should write a book. So I started writing a book. And I did a gig with the Turtles down in Florida 2 weeks ago, and on the way down I started reading that Jeff Emmerich book, and I went, oh man, I really got to get on this book, because it's great the way he writes it in that kind of like narrative style where he's talking to you like you're a buddy of his or something. And that's kind of the way I tell a story too, like as a fan, because I'm a fan too of these people, you know what I mean? So I'm not bragging, I'm going, wow, and then, you know, you know, and there's John Entwistle sitting in my van, you know, or whatever. So it's great, you know.
Well, no, I mean, it wouldn't be bragging. I mean, you'd be proud of the work, but you know what? In order for you to be able to work with those people, you have to have the talent. Exactly. You have to have what it takes. You have to have what it takes to be there in the first place. So
that's one of the stories. That's one of the first stories that I thought of for the book, was at the end of the first Walk Down Abbey Road tour. It's the end of the tour, last show is done. We're at this hotel in North Carolina, somewhere Myrtle Beach or something, and there's a little hotel lobby bar, and we're all kind of just chilling there. Everybody's getting ready to fly home the next day, saying our goodbyes. Hey, nice night, last night hanging out. and Todd is sitting at a table by himself pretty much, and he calls me over. He used to call me Godsmack instead of God. Hey, Godsmack, come over here. And I would go and sit. I went and sat down with him, and he just went on to like tell me how, you know, you really held this tour together, you know, when everybody was just like didn't know what was going on. You kind of were the glue, and it wouldn't have worked if it wasn't for you, and you know, and
He wouldn't say that if it wasn't true.
And he's not the kind of guy that gives out compliments to other people very generously, if you know what I mean. You know what I mean? He's very much of a perfectionist, and he's very critical of everybody else, you know. But so that was an honor to me, you know what I mean, as it is ever to be working with any of these guys, because for Jack Bruce to go, oh, I want you to be the Eric Clapton guy on stage with me for this tour, it's like, wow, you know. And what was amazing about the experience was that I got to be the other guy in the situation. So working with Jack Bruce, I wasn't stepping on his toes. I was being Eric Clapton to his Jack Bruce, you know. So kind of freedom to just do what I had to do, you know. Same thing with John Entwistle.
That's amazing. Well, I hope you keep working on your book.
Thanks so much. Yes, I will. I work on it every day. You got to force yourself to do these things because nobody's there, you know. There's no boss over your shoulder going, hey, get to work, and you punch a clock or anything. You got to get up and go, okay, I'll have a cup of coffee, I'll read my emails, and then I'll put in a couple of hours at this, you know.
Little by little.
Yeah. The same thing with writing an album and whatever. That album took me 30 years to do. 30 years.
Well, I can't wait to hear it. Okay, we have right here, we have Godfrey Townsend CD. We see the title of that, Easy Journey to Other Planets. So, okay, so where can people get this?
CD Baby, actually. CDBaby.com. CDBaby.com.
CDBaby.com.
Go to my website, which is Godfrey Townsend Music. There's a link on there for it. Or you can come to my house. I got 800 of them in my garage.
What's your address? No. Never mind. You can go to one of those sites, cdbaby.com, and get Godfrey Townsend's Easy Journey to Other Planets. That's a lot to remember, a lot going on tonight. But it was so great to be able to sit down and talk to you. You want to tell me more?
Oh,
that's all right. Please go ahead.
The title for the CD comes from a book on Eastern philosophy that I read when I was a teenager. I used to be a messenger at the World Trade Center, and a Hare Krishna devotee gave me this book in the main concourse during lunchtime, and it was a little paperback book, which is kind of like a real easy read kind of introduction to Eastern philosophy. And that was a book I read when I was a teenager, and it became the name of my first album that I put out 30 years later. And I traveled to India. It kind of awakened my interest in Eastern philosophy somehow. And we were doing a gig in Bombay with Alan Parsons, and just one day festival, that's it. Everybody else flew home the next day, and I traveled myself up to this holy city, met this woman who did the artwork, got her permission personally to use it for my album cover. And so there's a lot, there's deep stuff in there. It's not just like something thrown together or whatever. It's 30 years in the making.
I'm definitely looking forward to experiencing this. And again, thank you so much for sitting down with me. And I'm looking forward to hearing you up there with Skogeo Jam.
Is that what it's called?
Well, some members of Skogeo Jam doing the open mic and jam tonight.
They didn't tell me that's what it was called.
No, some of the members of Skogeo Jam. Okay. Yeah, they're a Chick Corea tribute.
Oh, really?
Yes, they are. So I'm sure you'll be in good company. And
oh yeah, a lot of these players I've worked with, and they're amazing.
Great to meet you.
Thank you. Good to meet you too, and thanks for taking the time.
Anytime. Hope we get to talk to you again.
Yes, me too.
Okay.
Have a good evening.
You too. And this is Diane with Godfrey Townsend, and Easy Journey to Other Planets. And now you know what the title's all about.